Hello everyone, welcome on our webinar, which is dedicated to doing business in Taiwan, with special focus on intellectual property rights and public procurement for green businesses. My name is Patricia Merei. I'm representing here Archenerg cluster, which is part of our internationally funded project, which is called GreenergPro. First, let's say greetings to our panelists. Today, there is with us John Eastwood from China IP SME Helpdesk. He will enlighten us about IPR consideration when bidding for green project in Taiwan. He is expert of this business for decades, so welcome here. Other guest here, who is the co-organizer organization, is Mr. Peter Sczigel. He also representing China IP SME Helpdesk, and he will introduce the organization and their strategic goals and tools to help the businesses on IPR respect. We will also have some short presentation on our project, GreenergPro, and our consortium partners will introduce their organization. So Agnes Gonda is with us, who is the head of Archenerg cluster, and Mirjana Kranjac from Ecopanonia. And hope she will, you will see her soon. And there will be a presentation about the public procurement, green procurement in Taiwan as well. And so let's give the floor to Peter to show the operation of IP SME Helpdesk.
Thank you very much, Patricia. My name is Peter Sczigel. I'm working for the China IP SME Helpdesk, which is the European Commission project. And then maybe just a couple of words from me about the project itself. What we do is a business service provided by the European Commission to companies in the European Union, in all member states of the European Union, and beyond, actually, because we can help some companies from the Western Balkans countries, Iceland, Norway, so countries within Europe that are not part of the European Union. What we do is free of charge legal advice regarding intellectual property in China. And of course, by China, I also mean Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan, so Greater China. If a company has any sort of intellectual property related questions regarding these countries, territories, then our in-house team of lawyers are very happy to help. We always reply with legal advice in 3 working days. And of course, this is completely confidential as it's a European project and also is completely free of charge. So far, we have been operating for 12 or 13 years. So indeed, it started as a European Commission project, but by now I may say it has become an institution on its own right. We have helped more than 100,000 SMEs from the European Union in these 12, 13 years. And we're looking forward to helping many more. The services we provide are, as I mentioned, this inquiry helpline, that is our main service. We accept inquiries from companies via phone, email. We also have an online query form on our website. Probably the easiest way to get in touch with us is via email. Of course, our contact details will be shared with all the participants, and also they're here in this presentation as well. We do training workshops very often, typically with chambers of commerce in member states, with clusters like Archenerg, with business support organizations, export promotion organizations. You're always, free to attend these workshops to get more information on intellectual property in China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Macau. They're always delivered by an IP expert, like John in this case. And hopefully they provide useful information to companies. With COVID, especially more and more of these workshops are online. Before COVID, we also used to do webinars, but now most of the events we do are online, which I think is also a good opportunity for companies from all over Europe to participate. We also have our own dedicated website included in the European Commission website, and our blog, and a lot of written materials as well, written by our legal team, IP guides, fact sheets on Taiwan, for example, which we're really happy to share with you after this webinar. So feel free to browse our website and reach out to us directly as well in case you need any supporting materials or any legal information. Just a couple of examples here. We have, as I said, an IP fact sheet. And this one is mainland China, but we have one on Taiwan as well. This is an overview of the IP landscape in that particular area. And we also have what we call IP guides. These are, a bit longer publications on a specific IP field. So, for example, what you see on the pictures on technology transfer, we have one on, for example, trademark registration, patent protection, etc., etc. We work in cooperation with other intellectual property help desks as well. So apart from China, we also do India, Southeast Asia, Africa, Latin America, and then there's one on the EU itself, and regarding the intellectual property system within the EU. And well, without further ado, I would like to give the floor to John. Stay connected with us. Follow us on Twitter, on LinkedIn. We also have a YouTube page or channel where we upload all the webinars that we do. So this will be uploaded as well. And if you have any questions, feel free to write us the question at china/ipihelpdesk.eu website email address. And as I said, we always answer within 3 working days. Of course, we will circulate these slides as well afterwards, so we will have the email address. So thank you very much. And then John and I will share your presentation, and then I will skip through the slides, and then the floor is yours, just a tiny second.
Thank you very much, Peter. Just let me mention that you can use the chat box as well. So if you do have questions during the presentation, just drop a text here into the chat box, and in the Q&A section, we try to answer them. Thank you.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Peter and Patricia. It's a great pleasure to be presenting on this topic. If we can move forward to perhaps the next slide. Oh, great. Yeah, anyway, I'm John Eastwood with the Eiger Law Firm in Taipei. I chair the IP committee for the European Chamber of Commerce in Taiwan. I've worked in Taiwan for over 20 years. We've got a full service firm, but in the past 5 or 6 years, nearly every single practice area within our firm has been kept busy working on issues related to Taiwan's push towards renewable energy. And that said, I hope my comments today are more broadly useful for companies in other areas of green projects, but I think it's helpful certainly as an area to look at. If we can go to the next slide. Although Taiwan has had some forms of renewable energy, starting with the Japanese colonial period in 1905 with the first hydroelectric power facility, the current climate change issues have really pushed it to the forefront of Taiwan policy, so that in the past 20 years, there have been major efforts to mobilize solar, wind, and geothermal options. Nuclear, which had been a mainstay of Taipower's energy production, was significantly sidelined in the aftermath of the Fukushima disaster in Japan, in which very similar reactors of a similar vintage and of a similar design had suffered massive failures. Same or similar models of nuclear power plants, all facing similar environments with geological risks. Taiwan, like Japan, has massive earthquakes and can be potentially hit by tsunamis. And so Taiwan's final plants are in the process of being phased out. And that, of course, gives rise to certain other concerns as they look at the amount of coal and natural gas that have been used. The process of ramping up offshore wind, onshore wind, and solar has taken a bit of time. Geothermal is still in baby steps. Let's, if we can't go to the next slide. Okay, with you know, a lot of the foreign companies that are coming into Taiwan for offshore wind and for solar and for other areas of green energy development are bringing in technologies, wind, solar, other systems. The government push in Taiwan for localization often makes it necessary for companies to pair up with or work with local companies. And so if your, you know, patent filing plans have skipped Taiwan, then trade secrets may become the most important way to protect your know-how. One of the reasons why many companies have you know, skipped over Taiwan sometimes with their patent filings is they never thought they were going to come to work here. The development, for example, of offshore wind was just in the last few years, and so if people had technologies that were, say, maybe 10 or 15 years old where they had patents filed elsewhere, they might not have thought of Taiwan at that time. Taiwan is not a patent cooperation treaty member. So sometimes, you know, people consider these things. If we can skip forward to the next slide. So some thoughts about patent strategies is a first matter. Now, if you're going to be doing business in Taiwan, it's a good idea going forwards to make sure that Taiwan is in your current and upcoming patent filing plans. Any patents you may have in the People's Republic of China, mainland China, Hong Kong, or Macau won't help in Taiwan because each of the jurisdictions has its own offices for handling IP applications. And it's worthwhile knowing that you know, Taiwan is not a member of the Paris Convention, but will recognize patent priority dates under the WTO TRIPS agreement, which by implication brings in some of the benefits of the Paris Convention. All right, if we can skip forward to the next one. Copyright strategies can be important, especially where if you have proprietary softwares, you know, that's involved with your technology. There's a lot of very fascinating things being done by companies that have entered the Taiwan market that have ways of analyzing data about the ground and about the surface, about the excuse me, what lays beneath the surface of the ocean, trying to figure out and analyze you know, what things are like, and to figure out the you know, from afar what a future construction project in a location is going to face. And so if your company has proprietary software, then it's good to know that Taiwan grants protection upon creation for works created in WTO member countries. Taiwan does not have a copyright registration system. It hasn't done that since around 1997. But the courts will recognize and accept information about registrations made elsewhere in the world. So what we found is often helpful is if you need to do copyright enforcement, is just to make sure that you have everything lined, all your documents lined up. So, you know, it's always good if you have people who you know, to have, you know, for example, work for hire agreements in all of your employment contracts. If you had anything that you know, any IP that you purchased from somewhere, to have a clear documentary track record of where you got that from, and the transfer of rights, the assignment of rights. Also, if you have a registration somewhere else, for example, in other systems, you may be able to register the copyright for it, and that will generally be accepted in Taiwan as evidence that you do have a legitimate right that you can enforce against a third party if you find that there's some sort of infringement. And as we mentioned earlier, one of the biggest sources of problems is because of the localization drive, that you may be paired up with a company. Things go really well at the start, and if they don't go well later on, or if management changes, or there's any issues at a later point, you may find that, you know, your business partner has now become your competitor. So, you know, if things break up, you may find that they continue to use your software, they continue to use your hardware, they continue. So this is one more tool by which to have control over that relationship. Copyright infringements in Taiwan have criminal and civil options for enforcement. So whereas with patent, it's purely civil, under the Copyright Act. Copyright infringements can be addressed with police action or with criminal complaint. In most cases, that's what you would need to have. You would need to have your own, a fairly well-drafted complaint that you'd submit. There are certain circumstances in which the police can take an action in a copyright matter as a crime against the state or as against, like, of their own accord. But really, for all these kind of commercial matters or for software that's used in a more non-consumer context, then what you're going to find is you have to write up a complaint and submit it. So good idea to save that for the situations where you really have to have it. Let's skip to the next slide. With regards to trademark strategies, it is important to register your keyword and logo marks in Taiwan. And as far as the word marks, English with Romanized character and Chinese are both important, because certainly a lot of companies, they will discover that even if they never intended to have a Chinese name, they ended up with one. And especially if you're doing business here, you're going to end up with a company, a Chinese language company name anyway. So it's good if you know that you're going to be using a name. If you know that the market will eventually give you a name, it's better to have your own choice about that, and to talk to your branding people, to talk with your counsel, and try to work out something that's a good idea, a good match, either for a sound-alike, what we call a transliteration, or for a translation, which would be something that captures the meaning of your company's name. There's some really brilliant examples. Every once in a while we get to see one where they hit a sweet spot on both. So in that case, it's important in terms of filing strategies for trademarks. Never ever let your local JV or business partner, no matter how much you love them right now, don't ever let them register your marks under their name. There's a couple of impacts of that. One thing is that that will result in the JV business partner being impossible to get rid of, or very hard to get rid of, and these situations can persist for a long time. We also find that when you have like a business partner who's been allowed to do this, the rationales will often be, well, we thought it would be a good idea to make them feel that they were tied in with our business. We thought it would be a good idea because they were so helpful to us. But especially for SMEs, no matter how helpful, no matter how good the relationship is at the beginning, you have to maintain control over your brand and your name and your logo and things like that. Otherwise, these companies, if things go sour, if things go bad, then they can keep you out of the market, or can even, and you'll never be able to say, oh, well, they didn't use the name in good faith, because they used it, and they used it with your authorization, and they registered it with your permission. And undoing that is so hard. So you save yourself a lot of time, a lot of money. Just register it yourself, pay for your own counsel. Don't let them do it. Don't let them say, I know of a trademark agent. Well, if so, then don't let them handle that. Pay your own bills for the trademark filings. Have your own communications with trademark agent for handling that. Make sure that you have a direct line and you have direct instructions on that kind of a thing. Any use of your brands by a JV or local entity should be covered by a clear trademark license agreement that states when and how it can be terminated and to limit activities in geographic scope. You want to have the ability, if the relationship ever breaks down, to be able to take back control of your brand. Registered trademarks also help with domain name and other online platforms. So, certainly there's a kind of bleed over effect where, especially after a relationship is broken up, someone will find that like their social media accounts for the, for the joint venture or for the company are now still dominated by the other side. And so it's good for you to have control of that, to be able to say that, no, we are the real one. You can at least contact a lot of those platforms and undo a lot of the damage, or at least maintain control over it. Okay, let's take a look at the next slide. Okay, you know, trade secrets as an essential first step of protection, you do really need to have like an NDA in place where you're in your confidentiality provisions put into your agreement documents with counterparties. You really need to address this, in terms of confidential information and trade secrets. There's no real good reason to skip this, and especially in the SME context, this can be very hard. I've heard a lot of excuses over the years that people say it's awkward. That's the worst excuse. So when they say, "Oh, I just feel really kind of funny. I'm going in for a meeting. I'm trying to do business. I'm trying to meet them, and before I walk in, I'm going to hand them an NDA and ask them to sign it." Well, in truth, especially for anything where you're going to talk with them about your technologies and show them stuff that is secret, that is your methods for doing the kinds of construction that are necessary for green industries. It is so important to be careful about this stuff, and don't be shy. Actually, the expectation is pretty mature in the Taiwan market, because there's an awful lot of high-tech industries here also. So don't be afraid to do it. It's trade secrets do need to be defined broadly enough to include a lot of what your company will be teaching the local partners or counterparts, because especially with a drive towards localization, it's important to be able to demonstrate that you what you consider to be secret, and to have it include all the training that you may be doing for their personnel, and to find ways to make sure that you have this covered. Your important documents that you share in the course of the relationship or keep for yourselves really should definitely be very clearly marked confidential. Reasonable means need to be used to restrict access to just only the persons who have a need to know basis. You have to be very careful about, to demonstrate that you've taken active measures to, protect your trade secrets and to prevent others from being able to use them. Employees, and that would be yours and the counterparts, they need to sign agreements promising to protect your trade secrets. And if you set up a JV, it can be very important to have your people in key positions monitor the situation. So, it shouldn't just be like you set up the JV relationship and then you go away. You do need to stay involved, and it's good to have persons that you've appointed to be at the JV who understand that there's important stuff and can keep the relationship on the rails when there's a temptation among the other side, perhaps, to, especially if things go sour, especially if things are kind of borderline, you want to have someone who can keep the relationship on the rails, at least keep the worst things from happening. Let's go to the next slide. In terms of trade secret enforcement, the good news is that you've got criminal and civil options available in Taiwan. The bad news is you're going to have to do a lot of your own legwork and investigation. Prosecutors will want to see what you have. They will not do that much investigation until you basically tip the balance and demonstrate that something bad has occurred, because there are, unfortunately, some companies that will raise trade secret allegations about employees who didn't take anything. They just do it as a way of harassing or trying to mess with ex-employees who are heading off to a competitor or something. And in some cases, it's really bad faith. So you want to show that you've got a good faith argument. You want to show that you've done your homework, that you've had your IT people, for example, go through the computer. We've seen incredible work done by forensics, computers experts, to go through computers and to figure out where vast amounts of data were, the day that they were downloaded, what devices they were downloaded onto, to even know the serial number of the USB thumb drives that were used by your former employee who was stealing the data. So you want to look at that super carefully. You don't want to have any delays. So as soon as somebody who's significant leaves your company, you should have their computer checked out if there's any sense that they're going off to a competitor in a way that could harm you. You have to act fast. You can stop them from leaving the country. You could do things like that. And there are enhanced criminal penalties that apply for persons under the Taiwan legal system if they try to take any secrets to the other parts of Greater China, the PRC, China, Hong Kong, Macau, etc. We often find that it's helpful also if you know that an employee has taken a lot of data and you know that they're heading to a competitor, to be able to reach out to the other competitor and to point out to them that the responsible global sized ones will often take seriously the possibility that the person that's being hired by them is accused or has an issue with having stolen trade secrets. So those are important things to consider. In terms of personal devices, some companies have bring your own device policies, and we strongly counsel against that because getting access to the computer for the purposes of installing surveillance or keystroke monitoring software is almost impossible, especially in the situation if you allow people to have their own laptops. Same thing for mobile devices. We found clients over and over again, if they allow the employee to have their own phone, that could be a problem. But we found also that, taking back those pieces of equipment at the end of the employment relationship, you can often uncover some really interesting stuff. So to just give a quick example, and I'll be wrapping up, but a client in a technology company was able to uncover that their employee who turned over his phone kept beeping, and they looked down and they could see, even after they'd taken the phone back, the guy's phone was still the account somehow had something active, a messaging account that was sending information to a competitor. And they were like, wow, this is really, the phone keeps beeping. What's going on here? They looked at the messages and they could see actively that their ex-employee had been in contact with their main competitor and was sending them intelligence on exactly what their salespersons and what their tech people were doing. And it was just shocking. But, you got to make sure that that you have the ability to take these devices back and to check them out, have your tech people look at them and to know what's going on. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, John. It was very nice to learn about these tools. And I don't know whether we have a question. No, but I think at the end we can check if we get any question. But for sure, our clients can then turn to your organization if they try to network in Taiwan. Let's then continue with the public procurement. Peter, can you open the presentation, public procurement in Taiwan? Because this is strongly linked with the IPR related presentation.
Absolutely, just a second.
And shall I control this?
I can give you control over it, just a second. You're supposed to be able to control it now. Can you please check?
I'm checking, but it's not. Anyway, okay. Was it me or you?
No, I'm not touching it, so it must be you.
Okay, good then. It's working. Okay. So I'm talking about the green public procurement in Taiwan. Public procurement is very important, a key factor in the economy because it has high impact on the development of the given countries. Public actors are really significant players, so they can reach around 12% of the GDPs when they are buying something. So that's why energy efficiency, circularity are in the focus when the public sector is about to purchase anything. in the recent years, these state actors are really increasing using this purchasing power to promote green economy and support the SME ecosystem. And here our project is linked with the intention of the public segment. If we are seeing globally, we can state that China represents the single highest procurer in the world with annual $4.2 trillion. But there are other significant players like US, Japan, Germany, India, France, UK, Indonesia, Canada, Italy, which take 3/4 of the global procurement market. As you can see, the EU with UK accounts around 20%, where the US is 15%. If we are checking the procurers topics, they are linked to energy mainly, transport, waste management, health and education. This international public procurement procedure has a quite complex legal framework. There are some main regulatory instruments. The biggest one is this World Trade Organization Governmental Procurement Act. The abbreviation is WTO-GPA. There are bilateral free trade agreements, and the EU has a special agreement. This is super FTA. WTO-GPA has signed by several countries, and luckily in our project there is Hungary, Poland, Israel, Singapore, Chinese, Taiwan on board of this WTO-GPA, so our client can easily go with equal rights to this public procurement. Serbia is an exception as they are not part of the EU. What this WTO-GPA means and how it helps the procurers. This is a national treatment and non-discriminative treatment. So the parties of the agreement guarantee that conditions for procurement covered by the agreement is not less favorable for other member countries, suppliers, goods and services than for domestic ones. It covers transparency as well. And the agreement only applies to procurement of goods, services, and including construction services, which are defined in the specific annexes of this agreement. So if you would like to see what are the special conditions, you should go to the coverage of this EGPA gateway at country-based. In this WTO-GPA, there are the, I think, known tendering processes: open, selective, or limited tendering procedures. So the open tendering means that any interested supplier can apply a tender. If there are selective tendering, then only qualified suppliers are invited by the procuring entity to submit the tender. And if that is limited, then the procuring entity contacts suppliers individually. However, even with this methodology, they need to avoid competition or discriminative against suppliers. So they cannot avoid the competitions, and they cannot be discriminative. Regarding the bidding procedure, this WTO-GPA is published in 3 languages: English, French, or Spanish. So even the non-speaker of local languages can get access to these procurements. There is always a notice which should include the objective of the contract, deadline for submitting bids, and contact information. The documentation for suppliers shall include all relevant information that they need to submit if they go for this competitive application. For the award notices, they indicate 72 days in case of open and selected bidding procedures. And if it's about invitation, then the deadline is 40 days. The green feature of the public procurement is apparent in WTO GPA as well. So they put focus, or they concentrate on ensuring the sustainability standards and green labeling. On this topic, we will have later presentation, because this is really relevant and specific, so it takes more time. Why is Taiwan in our focus? Why it's worth trading in Taiwan? You can see the basic figures of the country. The population is quite significant, with more than 23 million people, and the GDP per capita is quite high, with this $56,000. Europe has always concentrated on networking trading with Taiwan. EU obviously recognizes the PRC as a sole legal government of China, but EU has a really strong collaboration with Taiwan in the field of trade, economic issues, innovation, digital issues, green energy, circular economy, labor issues, and so on. And in the recent year, the focus went really towards green energy, new technologies, supply chain reconstructions. As an obvious sign of the strong networking, that there are 15 member state offices in Taipei, and the European Chamber of Commerce Taiwan also exists and represents European businesses in Taiwan. There is a special program called European Business and Regulatory Cooperation, which is again there to support, finance the trading and businesses between these countries. If we see the figures in this nice chart, you can see that in 2019, Taiwan became the EU's 15th largest trade partner. It is the 5th largest in Asia. EU itself is the 3rd largest trade partner of Taiwan after China, US, and Japan. The EU is Taiwan's largest foreign investor, covering more than 30% of total inbound flows. The member states who represent with offices in Taiwan, Austria, Belgium, Czech Republic, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Hungary, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Poland, Slovakia, Spain, and Sweden. And so it means that our project is standing on strong lines, let's say, so we can help our cluster members to break through and go to the Taiwanese market. If we check this WTO GPA in terms of Taiwan, Taiwan appears like Chinese Taipei, a separate custom territory of Taiwan, Penghu, Kinmen, and Machu. They signed the agreement in 2009, and it means that EU companies compete on equal terms with domestic firms in government procurement tenders issued by the entities covered by this agreement. This agreement, I mentioned before that annexes are very important if you check what are the rules for the given countries. So here, Annex 1 covers which central government procurement entities shall open the public procurement for foreign countries, and here you are the threshold. The next annex rules the sub-central entities, so provincial government, city government, and you can see the thresholds are a bit higher. Then in case of the third level, so the so-called other entities, which covers government-controlled entities such as universities, hospitals, harbors, utilities, large companies. The thresholds are even higher. There are some further annexes concerning Taiwan, one dedicated to the rules of goods, the other for the services and the construction services, and of course there are general notes as well. In Taiwan, of course, not just the WTO GPA exists, but there is a dedicated act. This is called Taiwan Government Procurement Act. It exists since 1988. Of course, this is kept amended. And this GP Act is absolutely consistent with the WTO GPA. There is a dedicated organization handling these issues. This is called Public Construction Commission, PCC Executive. On their website, you can see lots of regulation. I haven't copied here because it was more than 40, which regulate the public procurement in Taiwan, but this organization helps for sure. There are specific rules of GP Act. I just mentioned here some. For example, that for those companies who are not originating from a country with which Taiwan has a treatment or agreement, for them this equity rule will not apply. So only those countries can apply on equity rules which are part of this agreement. In this GP Act, they enhance and then that SMEs shall go for bid. So there is a minimum SME level to reach in the public procurement. So if you are SME, you are welcome to take part in public procurement. Joint procurement bidding is possible under this GP Act, but under certain conditions. During the tendering process, member can be changed, but again, in case of any serious occurrence happens, for example, insolvency. So usually it cannot happen. The codes are published on this website, Government e-Procurement System. You can see how it looks like. So here you can search upon dates and entities and so on. And on the e-procurement site, summary tender notices and prior information notices are published. And also you can find e-learning materials with informative videos in English. So if you are not that familiar with the rules of tendering, then you can try these e-learning courses. What about the contract wording process? Usually there are 4 basic principle applies. One can be that the lowest tender could win with government estimate amount set. The other is when the government doesn't set any budget, and again the lowest tender would win. The next is when the most advantageous tender would be granted, and the third one is the mixture of the lowest and the most advantageous tender. Like the European standard, let's say, dispute resolution mechanism and review procedure mechanism exist. This review procedure mechanism is handled by Complaint Review Board for government procurement, and the reaction time is 40 days for them. And that was in a nutshell the public procurement procedure. So if you have questions, please ask or drop to the chat box. If there is no question, then we can continue with the presentation of the Greenerg-Pro project. So please, Peter, open that presentation as well.
Let me try to open the PPT. Which presentation is that exactly?
This Greenerg-Pro project.
Just a second. Yep.
Thank you very much. So this webinar is held within this project, which is called Greenerg-Pro. Can I control this? Okay. Take some time.
Does it work?
Not yet.
Oh, let me see. Can you try now?
Okay. If it starts working, then it's quite fast. Let's move back on. Okay. Okay. The aim of our project is boosting untapped green business development in public procurement in the Middle East and Asia. This program in this project is supported by this special EU program. It's called Supporting European SMEs to Participate in Public Procurement Outside in the EU. In our project, we are concentrating on 4 countries. So one of them is Taiwan, and the other countries are Israel, Vietnam, and Singapore. Within this project, we would like to enhance our clusters capacities to be able to provide better services to our member, and we would like to embed our cluster members to this international system of public tendering in the Asian countries. The project is implemented by few partners, Archenerg, IMP-PAN, and Ecopanonia. We are all running clusters in renewable energy. The cluster managers will introduce their organization soon, so I will not go into the details here. Our project is 32 months, and it started last July. We are here still in the first stage, so we enhance the capabilities and knowledge on the international procurement market. So that was the first work package. And here we surveyed our clients, what are their internationalization needs, which countries are in their focus. And in parallel, we are nurturing contact with the stakeholders in these target countries. We are about to implement a study visit in Asia in August, and we will meet up the organization who have the same mission and who wish to have international collaboration with European, Central European companies. In the next phase, which has already started, we are preparing the internationalization strategy and the roadmap for our cluster. And then the last phase is the internationalization and business development itself. And in that phase, we would like to help our members to go and try their luck in the public procurement procedures in the 4 target countries. These activities are also had by so-called software packages dissemination and awareness raising and project management. Our scores are the following. We would like to provide a tender alerting service and newsletter service for at least 450 SMEs. We would like to direct these 450 SMEs to training and other supporting mentoring services to be able to enter this Asian countries market. And of course, we would like to have real tenders submitted. For this. The target is 7 And we will have dedicated mentoring service for 50 SMEs, and we will run a delegation to the target countries and implement a brokerage event with local SMEs and other industrial players with interest to go to public procurement. And this project had some previous projects, so this is built on the results of those earlier implemented projects. One was this Cluster Go International program, which dedicated Middle East and Asian countries, and the other was the Cluster Excellence program in Central and Eastern European cluster organizations. The lead partner is Archenerg, and Archenerg itself is part of the European Strategic Cluster Partnership for Smart Specialization Investment Program and the European Strategic Cluster Partnership for Excellence Program as well. Last November, we have implemented training for the cluster management managers on the public procurement processes in Israel, Taiwan, Singapore, and Vietnam. So we were taught about the basic rules of the public procurement procedures. Our focus are renewable energy, solar energy, hydrogen, carbon capture, biomass in the target countries. We implemented 2 surveys, one among the stakeholders. Under the stakeholders, we mean Chamber of Commerces, universities, development agencies, and interestingly, we got the result that they are really not aware of the trading opportunities with the Asian countries. They don't have training on public procurements, and they don't have internationalization strategy road mapping. So here we really see the niche. Almost the same was experienced in case of the other survey among the SMEs. Again, they are more concentrating on the European markets, the regional markets, let's say, though they are open to try the fair markets as well, and they are open for matchmaking. But as this is quite a costly process to build up the networks, to strengthen the collaboration, they choose always the easier solution. So that's why the network is more or less just expanding to the bordering countries. But they stated that they are interested in this project, and their interest is in eco and bioenergy, renewable energy, and environmental technologies. At present, where we are, we have executed these 2 surveys. We have recapped the line with the stakeholders in the target countries. We already organized one exploratory trip to Israel, and about to travel to Singapore, Vietnam, and Taiwan at the end of August and early September. We are about to conclude the cooperation agreement with the stakeholders in the countries to establish the networking opportunities for our clients and cluster members. We do have a series of webinars. We have already implemented one webinar with the Vietnamese IP Helpdesk, something similar than this one. And we are finalizing the tender alert tool on our website, which is going to be available at the end of this month. We are planning to have further training among the clusters and the cluster members as well. So we will have the internationalization activities from this September, and it will be backed by some workshops, for example, in Warsaw and Novi Sad and in Hungary this autumn. And next year, early next year, we are planning to have delegation with SMEs, and we would like to find the contact partners, industrial players, and help them to find the common focus and to work on common tenders. So that was the introduction of our project. Again, if any question you can ask or raise this in the chat box, and if not, I'm giving the word to Agnes to introduce the clusters. Peter, can you open Agnes' presentation?
Sure, working on it, exactly.
Thank you. Archenerg, and then.
Agnes, do you want control over the slides or should I skip through them?
Ecopanonia presentation, as I see.
That is Mirjana, but Mirjana, if you wish, you can.
Okay, I can. Good morning, everybody. I'm Mirjana Kranjac. I'm from the Ecopanonia cluster from Serbia. Serbia is a small country located in the middle of Europe with 8 million of people and on the Western Balkan part of the Europe. I would like to thank the organizer, the IP SME Helpdesk of China, and to stress this that Serbia is traditional, a very good partner of China. And I would present our cluster, our general facts about us, and also activities in the project Greenerg-Pro. Ecopanonia is cluster located in the town Novi Sad near the Hungary border in the most developed part of Serbia. And Novi Sad, we are proud that this year is European Capital of Culture. Our focus is our eco-energy and eco-culture. Next slide, please. The mission is to support innovation of our members and of the society in whole, to implement eco standards, to increase competitiveness of our economy and companies, and to develop capacity and efficiency in the work of them. Next slide. And the vision is to optimize the use of renewables to protect the environment and to support all activities that are related to this, to make our economy better, and as the most important, to improve quality of life for citizens in our region, Vojvodina, and in Serbia as a whole. Next slide, please. And the strategic objectives are that we are focusing on education because we think that this is the most important, and to raise awareness about ecology and about the importance of healthy life. Then to present the work of good companies and good examples. Then to find financial assets and fundraising for our members, and to do consulting regarding practical problems of them. Next slide, please. We have finished many projects, but we think that the most important are those who are from the COSME program. COSME program is devoted to clusters, and our projects are all connected to renewables and to ecology, and these are COSME for I and Greenerg-Pro. All of these projects are linked, and the next project is the next phase of the previous one. Next slide, please. A few words about our members. We have about 40 members, and as the one cluster should do, we composed the members from production companies, small, medium, and micro companies, entrepreneurs from this field, then educational institutions, faculties, institutes, schools, and supporting or bridging institutions like regional development agencies, local communities, developing centers, and similar. Next slide, please. Here are some members of our cluster. We think that a very important one is University of Novi Sad, which is a big one and a good one, and especially Faculty of Technical Sciences. Next slide, please. Then we have Recorded, we have Alma Mons Regional Development Agency, EU Fire, and many, many companies. Next slide, please. And a few facts about Serbia. Serbia's total foreign trade in the last year was about $60,000 million, and we had increase of about 30% comparing with the previous year. Our exports of goods is about 25,000 million. It's also increased for about 30%, and imports of goods also increased for about 28%, is 33,000 million. You can see that the coverage of imports by export is about 75%. Next slide, please. And when we are talking about countries that are the most important partners in export and import, you can see that we export the most to Germany, then Bosnia and Herzegovina, Italy, China, and Hungary. And the importers from our country are the China as the most important, then Germany, Russian Federation, Italy, and Turkey. Next slide, please. And this means that about 60% of our total trade is going to the member states of European Union, and the Serbian second most important partner are the CEFTA countries, and the main products that we export are agricultural products, cereals and products thereof, electrical machinery and apparatus, oil and petroleum products, road vehicles, and beverages. So from this, we can conclude that we need to exit to the markets of the third countries. Next slide, please. And structural export. We export the most electrical machineries and apparatus, then vegetables and fruits. We are very famous in our agricultural products, which are mostly organic, of a good taste and good quality. Then we also export iron and steel, metal ores and scrap, and cereals and cereal products. Next slide, please. And we, as Patricia mentioned, we finished the survey about needs of our members in the field of going to the foreign markets and internationalization. And we found that they need international business strategies. They don't have the strategy how to open the foreign markets. They need training, they need knowledge, and also networking partners. It's obvious that they need the local partners as the most important contact points in the countries where they try to do export. Next, please. And a roadmap of our activities through these projects are, so in this year we already have finished this survey that Patricia mentioned, and also me. And we're collecting data about internationalization needs of our members and new service they would like to have. Also, we designed implemented a website of our project for procurement internationalization services. And we have to do mission to visit selected countries. We already have visited Israel with big success. And at the autumn, we are going to Singapore, Vietnam, and Taiwan. It will be a very interesting, we hope, resultful journey. And we have to collect data about public procurement rules there and create contacts, what is the most important, with institutions that could help us in the future to support our members. Then we also will make a list of contacts and to update the existing market studies about these markets that we have already done in previous projects. And we organize webinars like this. We had already with Vietnam. This is the second one with Taiwan, and then also these other second countries we will do very soon. Next slide, please. Then we will do training presenting this updated market strategy. And we will start a e-newsletter to inform our members about public procurement possibilities. And we will organize international workshop in Warsaw and in my town, Novi Sad. Next slide, please. And next year, we will set up a pilot support department for technical assistance in the process of bidding. We will create a guideline for the members to enhance them the approach of public procurement processes in target countries. We will have webinar for cluster members to share information about internationalization activities, and we will make a very useful catalog of best practices in this field. Next slide, please. And that's all about our plan. Our plan is very ambitious, and we hope that we will succeed to fulfill all requirements of European Commission and all what we put in our applications. And I would like that from this webinar, we try to make B2B meetings online, possibly of our companies with your companies, and to try to find local partners to enter into your markets, and also for you to enter to Serbia and the European Union. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mirjana. And then Agnes can continue with the introduction of Archenerg.
Yes, so please share the presentation of Archenerg. Okay, so welcome everybody, and thank you for being here today and participating the webinar today. I hope that you can get a lot of information about Taiwan and what kind of opportunities that you can find there. Now I would like to introduce the Archenerg cluster briefly. I can't control my presentation. Okay, now it's working. Thank you. So my name is Agnes Gonda, and I'm a project manager, and I'm also managing the Archenerg cluster in Hungary. The Archenerg cluster is an international and innovative cluster organization operating in the renewable energy and the building trade sector. Our aim shortly is to facilitate the development of smart energy region, support SMEs and companies in their development, and create economic value. We are located in Sczigel, which is in the southeast part of the country. So it's close to the Serbian and Romanian border, and it can give us opportunity to build a closer cooperation with Serbian and Romanian partners. We also have foreign branches and representations like we have in Montreal. During our operation, we try to build a large network all over the world that can give us more opportunity and give to internationalize our network and to our members. The Archenerg every time win the Hungarian Cluster Excellence Awards, and we are the only one who earned the European Gold label that you can see in the PPT. Currently, we have almost 40 members. Most of them are small and medium enterprises, but we also have large companies and research and technology centers and universities in our ecosystem. Most of our members, the companies, are working in the solar energy, geothermal energy, biomass, passive houses, steel industry, and other building industry sector. We already completed 40 projects, most of them focused on the internationalization, the research and development activities, and knowledge sharing between the members and partners. We have signed around 400 agreements with our partners. We are part of 2 European strategic cluster partnerships. That one is the Cosmonaut for I, and the other one is the European Strategic Partnership for Smart Specialization Investments. We also provide services to our members to improve their competitiveness, such as tender searching and alert services. We help our members to get access for financial opportunities. It includes the national and European funds also. It's essential for them they can keep and boost their innovation level. We are quite embedded in the national and international ecosystem as well. You can see the logos of our major partners within and outside the country. Now I would like to introduce shortly our internationalization strategy. That's based on the regional strategy, as I already mentioned, and of course we follow the national and European smart specialization strategy on the green industry. At the international level, we recently concluded around 50 agreements with our international partners. Currently, we have 4 ongoing projects with different aims and different target countries. 3 of them core aims is to improve the international level of our members. One of them is the Greenerg-Pro that concentrates for Asian market. The other is Smart Energy project is in the European level, aimed to create a strong cooperation between European companies in the green technology sector. And the last one is the IC project, where we are focusing on partner searching and increasing the cooperation with other non-European organizations and companies, like in Canada and in India. We have one project with Uzbekistan that focused on to support the cluster development in the country and help for our partners to set up the first cluster organization in Uzbekistan. Within our projects, our partners always, and our members, the companies always get opportunity to expand their business and cooperate with other partners, increase their international level. You can find more information in our website, and soon we will upload an updated brochure about the services that our members can provide. And if you have any question, please contact us within this email. And thank you very much for your attention.
Dagi, then thank you very much. Could you please just shortly introduce the Polish partner as well?
Yes, of course, Ewa can participate. Can you put it full screen?
I cannot put it full screen because it's a PDF.
Okay, it's perfect in that way. So now I would like to introduce the IMP-PAN. That's one of our project partner in the Greenerg-Pro project. The IMP-PAN is located in Poland, in Warsaw, and it's a research institution and also a cluster organization. They are working in the renewable energy and the environmental technologies sector. Their first aim is to support Polish companies' development and competitiveness. The cluster has around 130 members. Most of them are startups or small and medium enterprises. Next, please. Yes, and they joining and they implemented European funded projects on national and international level also. Can you write down?
Sure, you're still supposed to have control, but I can move as well.
Okay, now it's working. So, perfect. Thank you. So IMP-PAN is one of the leaders of smart specialization strategy in their region. The cluster services focused on to increase the competitiveness of their members. So they give access for financial opportunities and European and national funds. They have a large network that give opportunity to their members in the partner searching. And of course, they tend to build a good cooperation with the political stakeholders to support sustainable energy development globally and in Poland. Thank you very much. And if you would like to know more about the IMP-PAN, you can contact Ewa or just check their website. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. We have reached the last presentation, so I'm asking the audience if there is any question towards the speakers. If not, I do. I don't know if John and Peter, you are with us still. Are you?
I'm here. John?
Good. Because
Yes.
I would like to ask about the IPR helpdesk service. If a single SME can contact you, and then you can provide a service for them, or you are more focusing on a group of SMEs. So
No, any SME can contact us. If any company just writes an email to our email address, which is of course in the slideshow as well, then we will get back to them immediately. So it doesn't have to be a group or a cluster. It can be a single company as well.
And if they would like to have a patent there in Taiwan, do you direct them towards payable service, or you are involved in that flow as well?
It depends on the question. If it's a legal question, then our lawyers can already follow up. If it's more like a business strategy question or something related to on-site presence in Taiwan, then we can forward the inquiry to the EU-China Chamber of Commerce, which is an implementing partner in the help desk, and then they are based on the ground, so they can maybe help the company more with like on the ground matters.
And do you have a clue how much that's, for example, one trademark cost or patent cost in Taiwan?
I think it depends. Maybe John could answer this question better. I think it depends, as far as I understand, on the specific number of trademarks. But maybe let's give the floor to John, and maybe he can address this.
Yeah, I mean, one key factor would be, of course, like the claim language. Oftentimes people are coming, especially for foreign companies that are coming in from Europe, they're going to have claim language that's already been drafted in another language. The easiest, of course, for translators here is going to be going English to Chinese. But generally speaking, the translation costs and the drafting time may vary from application to application.
I just come across for me a really huge service fee in Vietnam. So it was not about IPR consultancy work, but not general, so about public procurement, and they requested $5,000 per hour, and that's why I was wondering what are the service fees in Taiwan.
Taiwan's not so expensive, and it's pretty. There's a lot of competition. So the good news is that there's also not the same sort of difficulty that people face in the U.S. system. So in terms of the process, it's fairly quick. The fees are quite standard and quite competitive, and usually things can be worked out. It's not going to be, you're not going to be spending tens of thousands of dollars or something like that just to get a patent through, in any kind of normal, case matter. So, Taiwan is actually a very affordable option for filings.
And can we bargain the prices?
Usually, if you have bulk, if you have like if you have a bunch of patents, but not everyone's portfolio is going to move in that way. But like if you had, certainly, for example, with trademark applications, if someone says like, well, I've got four trademarks in, 5 classes that I want to do. And, for example, we did a bunch of work for one of the solar companies in this sort of area. And of course, we worked out, an affordable price for them for that.
Yeah, it's promising. And I hope that we can meet in person when we will be traveling to Taiwan this August. And then continue the collaboration in person. And thank you very much for all the participation. Hope you all had some interesting information, if not all, but some parts at least of your interest. And we will continue in the series of webinars and, as mentioned, the service package within this project. Thank you very much for the co-organizer, Chinese IPR SME Helpdesk, and have a nice evening, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. The presentations will be sent to the registered companies, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, we can follow up with the attendees, and of course we will see you as well.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for
Thank you very
coming
much.
and joining.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.